This is the plaintiff, Kenny Cambray. He says he was forced to move from the defendant, his landlord's house, after a terrible fire. He had every intention of moving back into the place once the repairs were made, but 8 months later, the work was still not completed. When he told the defendant he needed to move on and was going to officially move out, the guy refused to return his security. So here they are. He's suing for $975, the amount of his security. This is the defendant, J.T. Gallagher. He says everyone moved out and took their stuff after the fire except the plaintiff. He stored all his belongings in the place for 8 months, paid no rent, and used the place as his personal storage unit. He's sorry, but his security was used up on storage fees, and he most definitely doesn't owe the guy a thing. He's accused of being tight-fisted.
Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, ma'am.
Okay. Kenneth Cambray?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing J.T. Gallagher for $975, your security deposit, which you say Gallagher refuses to return to you, correct?
Correct.
What happened?
I moved in August of 2008, and on March 29th, 2011, there was a fire in the building.
Okay, can you hold on before you tell me about the
Sure.
fire? You moved into what? A one-bedroom, two-bedroom, five-bedroom, or what?
A two-bedroom.
Okay, and
I lived on the third floor. It's a three-story house in Brooklyn.
okay,
So I lived on the top floor with one other man,
okay,
another roommate.
right.
On the second floor were 4 people, and the landlord lived on the first floor.
Okay, so there were 3 separate living quarters? Okay.
All with the same entrance, just a stairwell to each one.
And were they locked from each other?
No.
Okay,
Just
did they
the main
share a
door.
common kitchen?
The second floor had its own kitchen, the third floor had its own kitchen, the first floor had its own kitchen.
Okay, all right. All right, so go ahead.
So on March 29th, there was a fire. One of the tenants, a young man on the second floor, lit himself on fire and killed himself.
Oh, my goodness.
And in fact, I was home and the landlord was home, and I heard him screaming. We
I'm
tried.
sorry, was it suicide? You're saying he did it on...
Suicide. So,
Oh, my God.
so that's how the fire happened. So we called the fire. We tried to get in. We called the fire department, and it was crazy. And but the aftermath of it was that the house was badly damaged, especially where I lived in the back of the house, and so in the aftermath of the fire, I decided. I had talks with the landlord, and we were on good terms.
Did he die instantly?
No, 2 days. I have most.
Was there anybody else home but the two of you?
It was just us two.
Obviously, you both got out without getting hurt. So the place gets condemned.
So the place gets condemned, and
Do you own the place?
I own the building. Yes, I
Right.
do.
Okay, go ahead.
we were on good terms. Still, I felt bad, and I actually liked to live there. So I made an agreement with the landlord that I would move back in when the repairs were finished, and all the other roommates got their own places. So I was the only one that agreed to stay when the repairs
No,
were done.
how did you know how long the repairs were going to take? It sounds very extensive.
I didn't know, but I was willing to couch surf to save money, and also I know
For how
it
long?
was, trust me, it was a mistake. And
Yeah.
so, what happened was the repairs took longer than expected. They kept taking a longer time, and inevitably, I moved back to Louisiana, where I'm from, just for more time, and I was having health problems.
Okay, where was your stuff?
The stuff I kept in the landlord's house. So in
Even
my
though the
old
building
room-
was condemned?
Yes, and
Did you talk to him about doing that?
yes,
And he said that would be fine?
yes.
You had to move out too, obviously.
No, I managed to stay in.
You did?
Yeah,
You weren't
they-
supposed to, though.
They tried to get me out.
Okay. In any event, did you agree to let him leave his stuff there because it didn't really bother you?
I said he could leave his stuff there for a while.
Okay.
And then it became a nuisance because we were having extensive work done. It started costing me money for the laborers to move it from one place to the other.
What, didn't you have his number?
I didn't even know where he was. I mean,
Right, but you have a phone number for him, right?
Yes, I do.
And the phone number hasn't changed?
No.
So did you ever call him and tell him, now I've changed my mind now, the party's over, you need to take your stuff out because it's becoming...
I can't do that.
Why not?
I'm not allowed to. Okay, the HPD, Housing Preservation Development, issued a vacate order,
Right,
which said the tenants have to get out.
right.
So I can't do that. I can't tell him to get out. They said to me that they could leave their stuff and they can come and check on it and get their meds. And
That's just not true, though. I don't know what you're saying. Can you show me where they said that?
they didn't say it here, but that's
Right.
what they told. It's a vacate order.
Right. That means get out and get your stuff out, too. That doesn't mean get out and then you can impose on the landlord and keep your stuff there so that workmen have to constantly move it back and forth. That's something you two agreed on. You told him you can leave your stuff, and at some point it became inconvenient, so my question to you is, why don't you just call him and tell him, get your stuff out? And your answer to me is, the law didn't allow me to tell him to get my stuff out? Okay.
Well,
You never get the call, and then what happens before you end up in court? Because you didn't just end up in court, something happened.
December 1st, I got it out. I got a new place in Brooklyn. Before
How many
that,
months had passed from the time of the fire?
April through November.
Wow.
But we had talked, I have record, two times September 12th for 21 minutes and October 19th for 30 minutes. We kept on good terms, and I wanted her to understand where I was in it. If there was a problem, I would have gotten it out. So we were talking about potentially me even still moving back in if the repairs were done. So at that time, the October phone call, 19th, was when we discussed the fact that the repairs wouldn't be done until the spring at earliest, and also the rent would be going up. So that's when I made the decision that I will find another place. So I got a place.
I mean, couch surfing from April to November. It's,
Well, I actually
I'm sure your
moved-
friends love you, but at some point they got to have enough, you know?
They wanted to all come, but
These are all the couches?
these are actually
No,
some
not
of the,
one of the couches. The couches aren't talking to you anymore, okay?
I have a few couches here, and then
Right.
some of them are actually the tenants who were in the building.
All right, so, well, at that point, when you hear how long it's going to take, you then say, all right, I'm out. And you have a security deposit, which is, this is the subject of the lawsuit, of $975 on that side. And you say, can I have my security deposit back? And then
Correct.
she says,
She said, you don't have a leg to stand on, Buster. I remember the words because I was like, I thought it was really confrontational, and I was just asking for it. And we even talked about, I know how this relationship goes. I keep it calm, and I say, well, if you did think it was a violation of any kind, me keeping stuff, then take a little bit off if you wanted to, that there was no way to talk it out. And he said, sue me. So I didn't know what to do.
all right, tell me your side.
Okay, during this whole time, he was in violation of this, the eviction order. He was coming there, he was staying there frequently, off and on. I didn't know when he was coming in, sometimes I did, and then he slept overnight many, many times.
Nope.
And I got a call from my contractor who's working on the house. He is an expediter at the buildings department, and he gave us a heads up that 311 got a call that someone was staying there, which would put me in peril. And
I thought that someone was you, though.
because I'm not supposed, nobody's supposed to be there.
No, but the 311 call, wasn't that about you? You're thinking
No,
it's about him?
about him.
How do you know? How do you know that someone wasn't you? Because you told me, you whispered in my ear a moment ago that you were living there even though you weren't supposed to. So how do we know that 311 call?
I'm supposed to live there. I'm allowed to live there.
I thought you said they were trying to get you out. Give me that.
The
Let me see that housing
insurance
warrant. Let me see
company
the
was
housing
trying to
warrant.
get me out. Okay. Okay, but
How
they
is
were
it
not.
condemned to everybody but you? That doesn't make any sense.
Because it says second and third floor only.
Okay, then it would
Second
make
and third
sense.
floor.
Hold on.
And
Hold on,
the
hold
si-
on.
Hold on one
this-
second,
Wait a minute.
please.
Fire damage walls and ceilings throughout apartment 2 and 3. Yep, everything's 2 and 3. Okay, so go on. Why aren't you returning the security deposit? It's because what?
Because he kept his stuff there for so long. He was making use of the electricity, the gas, the cable TV, the Wi-Fi. He did his laundry. He cooked in the kitchen. He ate in the kitchen, and he used the bathroom for what he used the bathroom for.
Okay. Can you be more
So
specific?
he was essentially living there.
Is that
He
true?
was
Were you
skirting
staying
the
there,
law
cooking there?
and- excuse me. He was skirting the law, taking advantage, okay? And he had not established an address, and he hasn't paid rent to anybody in 9 months.
Right.
That's the whole point.
Yeah, but you have to have an entitlement to the $975 in order to keep it. Otherwise, you have to return it. Your entitlement to it is that you're saying that he used your place as a storage facility.
And he also used the facility, used the gas and electric while he was
how
there.
are you going to prove that? I understand what you're saying, but now it's the burden. The burden is on him to prove you have 975 of his dollars. You admit that. There's no question.
I
There's
have
a
this
security
900
deposit.
I have-
And then now, if your defense is, I'm entitled to it because he was staying there, he was coming in, he was using it. Now you got to prove that part. Watch this. Did you do that?
I had to go back to the house to get stuff, so I was there frequently, like twice a week, let's say in the afternoon. And so there might have been one time I did laundry. I did use the bathroom, but I was not living there at all. I was staying with friends. I mean, there's just no debate about that.
Okay.
And I left town in August anyway because I got real sick, and I spent July in the hospital. So when I was doing that was actually April and May and a little bit of June, where
Did you ever see her when you were doing that?
Yes.
And did she ever say to you, what are you doing here? You're going to need to pay rent if you're hanging around here or whatever, anything like that?
No.
And welcome back to the People's Court. Harvey Levin here. So can somebody, after the fact, say, you know, I'm going to charge storage after all?
Absolutely not. I mean, that's the original deal. Like, if you made the deal like when he started, they have to stick to that deal.
Fair enough, you say?
I say no, not at all. I agree with this gentleman that once they made a deal, that's a deal. Unless it was in writing.
Got your
nothing
point.
in writing.
I'm not sure.
It's a real easy one. You can just take a chance and say one or the other.
Okay. I think within a reasonable amount of time, having a
He
heart.
can change his mind?
Yes.
Okay. You're acting like I might jail you if you give the wrong answer. It won't happen. Going inside the courtroom.
There was a warning for me not to spend the night because what happened
A
was
warning
that
from whom?
a warning from JT that yes.
Okay, and
So I heeded the warning because
Okay.
I was in there one night late with the light on, and I'm sure that's what there was
Right.
talk of that.
all right. You got to return the security deposit.
But he used the gas, the electric, cable
what proof
TV,
do you have
the
of that? He's
Wi-Fi.
saying he
used
didn't.
everything that was there, just
Okay.
like he was living there.
Okay, but you don't have any proof of what you're saying. The guy came in to look at his stuff. You tell him, don't sleep over because we're going to get in trouble. And then he says, okay, and doesn't sleep over. You guys have a perfectly good relationship until he asks you for the security deposit
But
back.
that-
If I were in your shoes and somebody wanted to use my place as a storage facility, I might charge them. I might tell them, you can do that, but you're going to have to pay me $100 a month, or you're going to have to pay me $50 a month, if that's how I felt. But what you're doing and what I cannot allow is you're creating a storage facility contract to the tune of $975 after the fact, sua sponte, all on your own, without him agreeing to it. Maybe if you had told him, I'm going to end up keeping your security deposit when you leave the stuff there all that time, he might have taken all his stuff out and put it in his house and his house and her house and her house. Who knows? Because that would have been free. So, you can't all of a sudden say, I'm going to charge you that because you came in to look, to check on your stuff, or you came in to get stuff, or you came in to switch stuff, or you did laundry once. It just doesn't work that way. $975 verdict for the plaintiff.
Oh, that was quick.
So the defendant is going to have to return that money to the plaintiff. Step right in over here and tell me what's your reaction to the outcome here.
Well, there's some people that take advantage of everything, and I think the guy took advantage of it. He's pretty sleazy.
I mean, he was a good tenant. You two had a friendship for a while, and
There's no
right?
doubt about it.
Right, and all of a sudden you change your opinion of him. Why would he turn on you
Because
like that?
he got nasty at the end. I didn't want to give him the money back.
Mm-hmm.
He was using the place, and he was no intentions of staying there.
So you're better off with him gone then?
That is absolutely correct. I got a room available for you if you're
Okay,
interested.
thank you. All right, head right down that way.
Thank you.
Okay, so step on in here. What do you think about the outcome here?
I'm pleased, and it was justice, I believe, getting the money back. I wasn't expecting to get any problem when I asked her for it. So.
You two did have a friendship, right?
Oh yeah. No, we were on good terms the whole time. It was just that when I asked for it, then for the deposit back, it went.
Why'd you bring your guitar?
I was I didn't know if the judge would ask me to sing or play maybe. And,
Well, you
yeah,
you
I
planning
was
it?
gonna-
You want to play?
Sure.
Well, you could play a song after you go sign your papers, and we'll post it on the website.
Oh, thank you.
All right.
Thanks a lot.
All
It's
right.
Kenny Cam.
Harvey, take it.
You know, the landlord could at a point say if you want to continue storing, you have to pay, but you can't change a deal and charge after the fact. That will do it for this case. Litigants for the next case on the way into the courtroom right now.